Hey there, beautiful people. It's Dina bringing another daily dose. Last few days, we've been talking about letting go of things that aren't serving us anymore. In order for God to really help us to become the best version of ourselves, there are things that we need to let go of. Things that are weighing us down or preventing us from really stepping into all that God called us to be. So everything I share on this channel really is about empowering you to be that specially empowered mom, to be that mom and that wife and that human being, honestly, that can do all of the things that God has called us to do, even in the midst of difficult circumstances. But the first step is really about taking an inventory of what's working and what's not working. So we've been talking about that for the last 2 days. The first thing we looked at is things that we need to let go of. Things like limiting beliefs or lies that we're believing. Any of those things. Maybe it's attitudes. Maybe it's behaviors. Maybe we're dealing with anger, lack of self-control. All those things that we needed to let go of. And then we talked about what are some things that we're actually saying yes to that seems like good things, but really are preventing us from doing the things that really God has called us to. Because not everything that's good is from God. Not everything that is good is for us in a certain season. So it might be something that you've done in the past, but maybe it's time for you to lay that down because there's something else that God is calling you to do. I had to do that many times in my life. And for a while it was good, and for a while God was calling me to do that. And there's different seasons in our life. Sometimes you're busier than others. Sometimes God is telling you to focus on one thing and not the other. But the thing is for us to partner with Him so we know what that is. Because if we're saying yes to things that He hasn't called us to do, that could potentially be a roadblock. It could stop us from actually stepping fully into what God has called us to do. So today we're going to look a little bit deeper in this self-inventory and discover what are some more things that could possibly be stopping us from truly experiencing God's best for us. So one of the things that I have really struggled with, and I didn't even realize it was something that was holding me back, but I had to do a deep study into that when God really revealed to me that there were hidden things in my life that were good things even, that I was creating an idol around. So I'm going to explain to you what that even means, because a lot of times when we think of an idol, like in today's culture, we think of an idol like a movie star or a music icon or somebody like that. Or even you might think of like an idol, even in the biblical times, where it would be like a golden statue or some sort of a carved thing that somebody would worship. But we don't realize how many things that we have in our life that actually are the same type of thing as an idol. So let me explain to you what an idol actually is. So this is from the dictionary. An image or representation of a god used as an object of worship, a person or a thing that is greatly admired, loved, or revered. An object of extreme devotion. A representation or a symbol of an object of worship. So anything that we worship, honestly, an idol is anything that takes the place of God. Anything. So when they were talking about in the Bible, people literally would create these golden idols or statues that they would worship and bow down to. Now, we don't do that necessarily today. I hope we're not doing that today. But there are so many things that we put in the place of God. So honestly, an idol is anything that takes the place of God. Anything that becomes more important than God. Anything that has your focus and attention more than God does. So some of the things that could be an idol, so some of the things for an idol for me was my family. My marriage was definitely an idol. I wanted my marriage more than I wanted God. And I thought that we were doing everything right as far as serving God and having God the center of our marriage, but that didn't mean that I was putting God first. I was putting my husband first, and honestly, that ended up becoming a problem because I was expecting my husband to be the one that met all my needs and it became my everything. I almost saw him as my God, not in some weird, twisted way. I'm just saying that my happiness was determined on whether he was doing the things that I thought I wanted him to do. And that was not a role for him to have. That was honestly something that was never meant for him to carry. Your spouse is not meant to meet all your needs and make you happy. They are a blessing that God has given us, but they are not somebody that is supposed to make sure you are happy. First and foremost, we need to be making sure ourselves are happy. And it's not even about happiness. It's about joy. It's about moving beyond difficult circumstances and still finding peace and joy in your heart. But if we're putting that on another human being, that's not a role for them. And you can find that putting stress in your relationship. Both of us do it. I'm saying the wife does it, the husband does it. We have these expectations of that person that were really meant for God. Now, we certainly have expectations of our spouse. Don't get me wrong. There are things that we expect our spouses to do, especially in caring for us. But if it's in meeting our emotions or making us happy, or honestly, even our identities, is not in our marriage or another human being. That was never meant for them to carry. That's way too big of a role for them to carry. That's something that God needs to do. And when that is put back in its rightful place, then you can actually be for your spouse, partnering with God, who God called you to be. So that was a very big one for me that God had to walk me through. The other thing too, especially as a special needs mom, we put our kids first. A lot of times we'll say, I have to do it. No one else is doing it. You don't understand. My child needs 24/7 care. I have to do this. But God never asked you to do that in place of a relationship with him. As a matter of fact, he never asked you to do it alone in the first place. He's the one that's right there with you, partnering with you. But most of the time, we're not even acknowledging that. We're trying to strive and stress and do all these things ourselves because this life is challenging. It very, very much is challenging. Every day I'm met with circumstances that exhaust me. Both my daughter and I have been very sick this last week, and trying to take care of a child that's sick while you're sick is probably one of the hardest things to do as a mom. But if I'm putting my child above my relationship with God, then there is going to be something else that is going to be neglected, and that's my spiritual health. And when that's neglected, I can't show up in the role of a mom or even as a wife or as a person without God. I just can't do that. And I've shared that many, many times on this channel. I cannot do this without God. I can't do it effectively. I can't do it and still remain peaceful and find joy in the midst of difficult circumstances. So if I'm putting all the care and the needs of my child above God, now it doesn't have to be quantity of time. It's quality of time. God knows that you're busy. He knows that you've got to do extra things. This last week, I've been very busy trying to take care of a child that can't really do anything for herself. So I don't have a whole lot of time to spend in prayer and worship and Bible study. But my heart is always connected to God. I'm always praying. I'm always spending that emotional time with him. Some other idols that I had was honestly food. It still honestly is food. There are times that I know I'm not eating something that's healthy for my body or nourishing my body. I'm not taking care of this temple that God gave me because I just want the thing that I want. And then I wonder why I might be struggling with, this area in my life. So there's a lot of things that could become an idol in your life. What if it's a job? What if you're spending so much time on your job that you're not spending time with God and you're not spending time with your family? You're seeking after income more than you are seeking after a relationship with your family. Now, I understand if we're in a financial situation, a lot of times, especially men, they feel this heavy burden and they feel like they have to spend all their time working and trying to create an income for their family. That might be a responsibility that they feel that they have to do, but it's never to replace the relationship with God. And honestly, if you're partnering with God, those opportunities will present themselves greater if we're not trying to strive and do everything on our own. So what I just want to leave you with here is take an inventory. Is there anything in my life that is taking the place of God? Anything. It could be worry. Are you worried about your future? Are you worried about anything that's coming up? Are you worried about prayer that's not being answered? Worry is not going to give us any extra days. Scripture actually says in Matthew 6:27, can any one of you by worrying add a single hour to your life? So even worry can be an idol. So I want to leave you with some scriptures just so that, we understand that everything we do is based on biblical truth. Exodus 20:3-4 in the Amplified Version says, you shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make yourself any idol, any likeness, form, manifestation of what is in heaven above or on earth beneath or in the water underneath the earth as an object of worship. So we might not be thinking we're worshiping our spouse or worshiping our kids or worshiping food or worshiping our job. But if you're spending more time doing that, thinking about it, murmuring about that, complaining about that, if it's got your focus and your attention, you are worshiping it. That's the definition of that. Deuteronomy 8:19 says, and it shall come about if you ever forget the Lord your God and follow other gods and serve them and worship them, I testify against you that you will most certainly perish. And I think that that's a spiritual death. I think that if we are putting anything above God, then we will be spiritually dead. And we cannot do this life if we lose that. So I think that one's really, really important. And then Matthew 6:24 says, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love another, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon, which is money, possessions, fame, status, or whatever is valued more than the Lord. That's really the key. Whatever you value more than the Lord, it could be church. Honestly, in my ministry, I did this in my youth ministry too. So many times I would put the ministry above God, and I thought I was serving him well. I thought we were doing everything right by these kids, and I was preaching every single week, but at what expense? It ended up costing me my mental well-being, my physical well-being. My marriage was struggling. My own kids were hurting, and I couldn't even see that because I was trying so hard to please God. And there were things that God never even asked me to do or carry. I just thought because they were good things, they were God things, they were the right things to do. It became an idol. And if there's something that's an idol that God knows is toxic in your life, He will take it from you. He will not allow something to continue in your life if it is something that will destroy you. And so that season of that youth ministry had to come to an end. It was no longer being used for good. It had to come to an end. But God is such a faithful God, and He will give you beauty for ashes, and He did restore all of that. And He did restore me and my family, and He is using me for good now. But there's a lot of trials and struggles I had to go through to let go of all of that. And if somebody would have just shared with me that I was using that as an idol and I didn't know that I was doing something that was actually harming me, it would have been so much better for me to know that then. That's why I share everything that I do on this channel. So anyway, I hope that this encourages you. I just pray that you do an inventory. You go back and listen to the last 3 episodes of these daily doses, and I look at your life. If there are things that you need to let go of, or the things you're saying yes to, that season is over and it's no longer serving you. Are there idols in your life that you're putting above God? And just remember that He loves you. He has a plan for you. It is good. And God will get you through the end of the dark season. I promise you. And I love you. And I can't wait for us to be back together again. So have an awesome day. Bye.